What up, everybody? What up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the greatest afternoon show in the world, AC Reviews the World. I am your host, AC the Engineer, and we are at episode 228. Yes, 228. It is Thursday, July 16th, 2026, year of our Lord, and it's time to get into it. Like I said, this is the greatest afternoon show in the world. You ain't got to believe it, but I believe it. That's all that matters. But welcome back to a show where we go over topics that I found that we need to review together. Why? Because the world's a crazy place and we got to figure out some way to navigate it. Now, I'm never going to say I'm always right. I'm never going to say I understand everything, but I'm willing to talk about it. That's what's wrong with the world today. So if you ever disagree with anything I say during this show, please leave a comment, leave a dislike. Let's have a discussion. That's what we need to do. And if you like this content, like my channel, like the videos I drop, the best way to show your support, y'all, is just to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. Because I try to drop every single day. But you know how I like to do it. Let's jump right into it. The first topic we're getting over to today is we got to go over to Texas, where we have some deadly Texas flooding that has forced widespread evacuations and some rescues. So let's get over into it and see what this whole topic is about. Remember, y'all, hit that like button. Let's get into it and see what we can find out.
We are starting off with some breaking news this noon hour. It is coming out of the Texas Hill Country. That, of course, is the same area that spent the last year recovering from catastrophic flooding. CBS Austin is reporting that one person has died during flood rescue operations. A spokesperson for Travis County says that Star flight crews have been flying rescue missions in Kerr and Gillespie counties as that flooding continues. The death reportedly happened during rescue operations in Kerr County. Torrential rain has been slamming parts of Texas for the last 3 days, causing the flash flooding with the threat of even more dangerous weather to come. There has already been dozens of people rescued, many from stranded cars. And as we mentioned, one death has been reported. Jason Allen has a look at the situation in Kerrville.
Now, is it just me, or it seems like weather patterns are getting stronger and stronger the more years we go by? Now, of course, I'm thinking climate change, but some people don't believe that. But no matter what you think, we all can tell that something is happening with Mother Nature. But let's keep going into this.
It's a dangerous situation again in Kerrville in the Texas Hill Country this morning, and the conditions here continuing to change. The Guadalupe River, which I know it looks like it is raging back here, it has actually come down significantly in the spot where we are standing. It was up in this area completely covered with water at one point this morning. It's gone down, and now with heavy rain, it's started to climb back up again. There are river gauges down to the south, down to the Comfort area, where the National Weather Service said that they noticed a 16-foot rise in the water level in just 30 minutes. That only gives you a few minutes once you realize that it's flooding to get out of the way. The National Weather Service using very strong language to describe what's happening, saying there's likely catastrophic flooding, and we have seen debris floating by in the Guadalupe River. We have also now started to see helicopters flying up and down the length of the river, much like we saw a year ago when those floods happened, the deadly floods on the 4th of July. So they're flying the banks, they're looking in the treetops, they're looking on the riverbanks for anybody who may have been caught in the flood, couldn't get out, and is still looking for help. There is still a shelter-in-place warning in effect here in Kerrville this morning because a lot of roads are flooded. There has been water that has gotten into structures. They don't want people moving around while they surge more resources into this area. And it continues to rain. And all of that rain and that runoff moves into these creeks and rivers, and the situation continuing to change and develop here in the Texas Hill Country. Back to you.
All right. Thank you so much for that report. Our thoughts and prayers, certainly with all of those impacts.
Yes, thoughts like we always got to give our thoughts and prayers to everyone during these situations, because I couldn't imagine this happening to myself, and I would want someone to at least pray for me, even if they can't help me. It's a tragic situation. Like they said, one person has already died. Hopefully the number does not rise. But let's keep going into this.
Impacted by these floods. It is definitely heartbreaking to see that these areas that already dealt with the unimaginable loss last year are seeing something very similar nearly a year later. We will, of course, be following the very latest there in Kerr County and the situation in the Hill Country, and we'll be passing along any updates just as soon as we get them both on the air and on our digital platforms. But right now, we want to send it over to Brendan Jackson, who is standing by in the Forecast Center. And Brendan, I'm sure as a meteorologist, you probably felt like a lot of us when we first started seeing this flooding in Kerr County, which is, you know, not again. I was just explaining to my daughters who were talking about how scared they were of flooding that, hey, that was like a once in a century kind of flood. And yet it's flooding again in Kerr County.
Yeah, no, and the sad thing is that if you look at the historical record for the Texas Hill Country, it has happened in the past. And unfortunately, even just a couple days ago, looking at forecast models and putting together forecasts, it did look like that was a possibility, a very scary possibility that has now come to fruition. And there is still rain ongoing out there, and still a lot of flooding issues still to come. Across central Texas right now for us, not a ton of rain. Our western counties seeing the majority of the rain currently, San Saba and Mills County counties, but looking once again down across portions of the Hill Country, when we get into these pinks, that's where we get these over 20-inch rainfall totals as estimated by radar. This is just an absurd amount of water that has fallen closer to Uvalde, as well as another little bullseye in Kerr County between Kerrville and Fredericksburg. This is just in the last 48 hours. Flash flood warnings ongoing for this entire area, a just massive sector. And when we get those regions that are, we get the language that the National Weather Service is using, catastrophic. Another term they use for that is flash flood emergency, the highest level of flash flood warning they have. Luckily, the rain is starting to move out and will be moving out into the next couple days. More summer-like weather coming back to Texas here soon. I'll talk about that coming up in just a few minutes.
Brendan, thanks so much. Here's some video from a few miles south of Kerrville showing the very powerful waters of the Guadalupe River. This video is taken in Comfort, Texas. That is where first responders, as you can see, are crossing over a bridge right here in this footage. You can see just how much the river has risen, and officials warn that it may continue to rise. Another area hit hard by the severe flooding is Uvalde County. Here is some drone video showing neighborhoods inundated. Some homes only have the roofs peeking out from the water, and the treetops are the only things that are visible. Governor Greg Abbott issued a disaster declaration for 59 counties, and the state is working 24/7 with the ongoing flood response there. Meanwhile, Central Texas firefighters are headed south to help communities hit hard by the San Antonio area flooding. The Robinson Fire Department deployed through the Texas Intrastate Fire Mutual Aid System, along with the Waco and Hewitt fire departments. The team
Absolutely crazy situations that's happening out there. Let's get over into the AI breakdown real quick before I get over into that super chat, because I'm always going to read super chats and pull those up. So let's get over into that. So as we know, the deadly flooding. So look at some of these images. So catastrophic flash flooding is actively unfolding across Texas Hill Country, leaving at least one person dead and triggering a massive high water rescue operation. The severe weather has prompted National Weather Services to issue a flash flood emergency for multiple counties. The disaster hits the exact same region where we had that historical catastrophic flood that ended up killing more than 130 people 1 year ago today. Or not today, but 1 year ago. So we know, one 65-year-old man died after floodwater swept away his mobile home. And then we know that the Guadalupe River at the Comfort rose 25 feet in a single hour, eventually cresting at the 37-foot mark, surpassing the peak height of last year's historic flood. Emergency personnel have conducted over 80 swift water rescues using boats and helicopters. Governor Greg Abbott issued a disaster declaration covering 59 counties, deploying over 130 emergency personnel to the region, often called Flash Flood Alley. The ongoing deluge is drawing painful comparison to the devastating flood of July 4th, 2025. As we know, it claimed the life of 139 people, including those children at Camp Mystic. It's a tragic situation, no matter how you feel about it. But we have to keep up praying for everyone. But it does seem like that Mother Nature is getting more and more angry or serious, however you feel about it, however you want to say it. But we will have to keep up with this to see if the death toll rises. But this is a tragic situation, and we got to keep them in our prayers. But let's get over into the super chat, y'all. We got a super chat. I think this is my first super chat I've ever gotten, so I got to mention them. So remember, y'all, shout out to, let me put them up, Young Phenon 84 with the super chat. Salute to you covering these topics. Salute to you, my friend. Thank you for sending that super chat over. I'm always going to read super chats. I'm never going to request them. So if you, the main thing I say to show your support is hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. But I will always pull up super chats, y'all. So I always thank you for the support. But let's pivot over into our next topic we're going to be discussing today. And we have to go over into the Nolan Wells death case, where we have more details, new details that we need to discuss. So let's get over into that and see what we can find out, y'all. Remember, like I said, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. Let's get over into it and see what we can find out.
Welcome back. First on CBS News, newly obtained GPS data shows the movement of the boat that carried Nolan Wells to Horn Island over the 4th of July weekend. The Mississippi teenager was found dead after he'd been missing for 2 days. His family still wants answers, and their attorney, Ben Crump, says new tips are coming in every day.
We continue to be steadfast and trying to get to the truth of why Nolan Wells is dead. If this was your son, if this was your daughter, wouldn't you want desperately to get to the truth?
Anna Schechter leads our crime and public safety unit. She's been following this case for us. Anna, good morning. Help our viewers understand what this GPS data might show and how it's relevant to the timeline as far as the family is concerned.
Now, before we get into that, let me say one thing. I think everybody wants to get to the truth in this situation. But the main thing I question is, will people accept the truth? What if the truth is that the friends didn't do anything wrong and they just left him there and he ended up drowning? I'm not going to say we don't have, some things don't make sense, but what if that is the truth? But we still have to go through a proper investigation and get down everything that standing out and doesn't make sense. But like I said, will they accept the truth? Let's keep going.
Well, Errol, this is important because now we know the exact movement pattern of that boat that took Nolan Wells to the island. Exactly what time, around 11:15 a.m., the boat landed on the island. And then we know that after 5 p.m., that boat, without Nolan Wells on it, traveled a different route and docked in another place, different, actually quite a ways away from where it entered the water that morning. And then we know the route that those young men who were on the boat that took him, that path that took them to the home of the boat's owner. All of this is being scrutinized by law enforcement. So this is a key part of it, because the big question is, what happened to Nolan Wells, and did anyone see him enter the water? That question remains unanswered, Errol.
So you've got the GPS data from the boat. I understand Nolan's phone could also play a key role. What is the family's legal team saying about what it might show?
Absolutely. The family is now saying that there is a joint probe of that phone. So the family's lawyers and the sheriff's department, and also investigators with the district attorney who are working closely with law enforcement partners on it. They are looking at this phone to see if any Snapchats were deleted, any texts were deleted. The family told me that they have questions about that. It was unusual that on that day, July 4th, there didn't appear to be any communication from that phone. Now, of course, it could have been in a dry bag in that boat that whole time, but they still have questions, Errol.
And of course, this has attracted so much national attention, but there's also been a lot of misinformation regarding this case out there. What have you seen that has been debunked, and how can that help viewers understand what is and what isn't known about what happened to this young man?
This is a great question. We had a video from that day from Horn Island posted to social media, and lots of people guessing that they might have heard Nolan Wells's voice. And the person who actually took that video came out and said, no, that is not Nolan Wells's voice. There were discussions online about potential arguments that might have happened. Do you see Nolan Wells in the background? And people have weighed in and said, no, that is not what is seen in this video. There's also a photo of a pool party, and there was misinformation online that pool party might have even occurred that night on July 4th, where Nolan Wells was seen in the swimming pool. That also is not accurate. And so we've had to be really careful on our teams to drill down and double check, triple check information.
See, that is the biggest problem with a lot of this stuff, that a lot of people will find something, run with it, and then it gets everybody up and stirred thinking, oh, this must be a crime. They must have done something wrong. So we just heard that the video where people were saying that they were yelling, saying, give me my phone back. That was not the case. That wasn't even Nolan talking. And then the picture that everybody was talking about that showed them in the pool, everybody was saying, oh, this is right after the 4th of July. And it shows that he got off the island. But all of that is just misinformation and just things that people try to dilute the actual evidence. So we have to make sure we aren't just running with something, and we have to wait for the actual official police report and police investigation to finish. Let's keep going though.
All right, Anna, we'll keep.
Well, let's get over into the next video, y'all, and see what else it tells us.
Death investigation into Nolan Wells will eventually go before a grand jury as evidence raises some new questions. The teenager went missing after a 4th of July boat trip to an island off the Mississippi coast and was later found dead.
Civil rights attorney Ben Crump says that he and the Wells family met with the Jackson County District Attorney, who said a grand jury will be selected after the investigation is complete and all the evidence is reviewed. Crump says both sides have also agreed to a joint review of Wells' cell phone as the family continues its own investigation. The family says they have reason to believe that messages may have been deleted off of Wells' phone before it was returned to them.
Joining us now is our chief legal analyst, Khalif Rhodes. Obviously a tragedy here, but it's sparking a lot of national.
Now, I do wonder why they think that, because they definitely mentioned that there was no Snapchat history from that day, which, like they said, a lot of people are saying that he left the phone on the boat while he was on the island. So that would make sense. But how do they know messages were deleted? And the real question is, did they know his password to his phone, or did he not have one in general? Let's keep going.
Interest, because there's just a lot of questions that still haven't been answered. And police, for the family, saying that the police don't really seem to be acting fast enough in this, or they feel like they're not really doing a thorough investigation here?
I've seen a number of investigations with these type of crimes in the past, and this is an instance where it seems like there's a collaboration between local law enforcement and the family's representation. In this instance, it's attorney Ben Crump. Typically, you wouldn't have a phone being turned over to the family if it's in the course of it being used during an investigation. It would wait to the end. So originally, attorney Crump said, hey, we're going to get our own investigator to have someone else, do a forensic evaluation of the phone, but then you hear this report about them saying, okay, they're going to work and have a joint investigation. If there were messages deleted off the phone, that tells me a number of things. First of all, that they have the folks that deleted it don't have any understanding of how forensic evaluations work on phone data. I get this stuff all the time. There is a box on there that says deleted messages. It runs through a system typically called Cellbrite, and it dumps your entire phone. So unless you have destroyed this phone or went back and completely erased it, just deleting messages doesn't remove anything. It will be deleted messages, it will be search history, it will be anything that ever was used on that phone will show up in that evaluation, and that's what you're going to want to have when you're trying to do a complete investigation. If they believe there were messages that maybe, I know I sent this to someone, but when I got the phone back, it's not on that device. Well, what else is removed? That's what's going to be what the family is looking for. And if there is something missing, obviously it will be submitted to the grand jury. But this raises a number of eyebrows for sure.
And not only text messages, but GPS data is also being used. How important and reliable is that information when you're trying to reconstruct a timeline?
Extremely. I mean, again, I work with this type of data when I do my homicide trials, and I mean, they will bring in a person that this is all they do is look at and review this Cellbrite information. Typically, they'll go in, and if you're looking at GPS data, they'll get someone from either the FBI to come in to go over this information to be able to pinpoint and show exactly why. I mean, that's some of the hardest part. Now, I'll be honest, in a trial, it's also the most boring part because they're talking about triangulations and calculations and stuff that a jury really isn't wanting to listen to or pay attention to. But this is extremely important because it can pinpoint exactly where you are at, and the science behind this is extremely supported. And so I'm not trying to tear down the science. I'm not even trying to tear down the person. I just want that witness to get off the stand as fast as possible so that we can move on to something else that helps paint the picture that I want. So that data will be extremely helpful in this case.
All right, well, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll have to keep up with everything that they're pulling up and see what happens when they actually go to a grand jury, because that's going to be the ultimate thing. Can they bring this? Will a grand jury agree that a crime happened? And will they be ready to prosecute? But let's get over into the AI breakdown, y'all, just to see if it tells us any more details that we're missing in updates. So let's get over into that. So as we know, the death investigation of 18-year-old Nolan Wells will be turned into a grand jury once law enforcement completes its file. Its procedural updates follow a face-to-face meeting between Nolan's family, civil rights attorney Ben Crump, and Jackson County District Attorney Angel Myers. Official emphasizes that the grand jury review is a standard practice for deaths with unknown causes in Jackson County and does not inherently indicate a crime was committed. Okay. Now, a lot of people think that if they're trying to get a grand jury, that it has to be a crime. No, they're saying this is a normal thing that happens. So they talked about the attorney's office and Ben Crump's legal team agreed to mutual forensic inspection of Nolan's smartphone. Now, remember, the parents originally had the smartphone. Well, after they got it from the friends, they had it this whole time. So they are now officially letting the police look at it with their investigators and not just their personal investigators. So experts from both sides will extract data side by side to address intense concerns were raised by Nolan's mother regarding alleged deleted text messages, missing call logs, and wiped Snapchat accounts. Now that makes it sound, they didn't see anything on Snapchat that day. I didn't hear anything about them just wiping the account. So newly obtained audio revealed a call made to a private towing company by Nolan's friends. The audio details that their boat was malfunctioning and sinking due to a pump issue. A parent of one of the teens stated that the group left Horn Island without Nolan because of the emergency, claiming Nolan chose to stay behind. It is good that they have a towing distress call, so that's something. So the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources released boat GPS data. Investigators are utilizing these coordinates to cross-reference pins and establish an exact timeline of July 4th. So the official state autopsy and toxicology findings remain pending and may take several weeks to finalize. We've seen that with the singer David murder case. It takes so long for toxicology, which will be a big thing because if he was overly intoxicated, drunk, or on some kind of drug, which some friends say this group is known for, it makes put more emphasis on he could have drowned. So as we know, they're doing an independent review by Colin Kaepernick. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office maintains that the preliminary assessment shows no signs of foul play, but investigators remain highly active. The investigation remains highly active. The FBI is assisting local authorities with specialized federal tools and is separately running a parallel investigation into interstate threats made online against individuals connected to the case. I'm assuming he's talking about the friends because they're saying that a lot of friends of Nolan Wells who were there are getting death threats. And as we know, the funeral is arranged for Monday, July 20th, 2026. Visitation will occur between 9 and 11 a.m. Wow. I mean, it's a lot of information that we have to understand. But the real question is, did the friends kill him? Did they try to hide it? Or was this all just a crazy accident? Now, no matter what you believe, If you think that they did something wrong by just leaving him there by himself, okay. But does that automatically make them guilty of a crime? We'll have to wait for all the evidence to come out and see what the official police ruling is. But like I said, will the family truly accept if this was an accident? Let's get over into the next topic that we're going to be discussing today. And this one is a doozy. It's tragic to think about, but a lot of people are saying this is why we need stricter gun laws. But let's get over into it. So we got a 4-year-old who has accidentally shot and killed his 2-year-old cousin while they was in the car. And right now, no arrests have been made. So let's get over into this. We got a few videos to look at. And then, of course, we'll go over into the AI breakdown just to wrap everything together. Remember, y'all, if you like this content, remember, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. Let's get over into it. Let's see what we can find out, y'all.
Tragedy is serving as another reminder of the importance of gun safety.
Investigators say a 2-year-old boy was accidentally shot and killed by a 4-year-old who found an unsecured firearm. This happened this weekend at a rental community in Kissimmee.
As West 2's Kennedy Mason explains, investigators say the shooting could have been prevented.
Yeah.
A heartbreaking scene on Scrapbook Street in Kissimmee Sunday evening around 4, which should have been the start of a fun vacation at the Cove East at Story Lake rental community, turned tragic.
Advised there was a shooting. Upon our arrival on the scene, law enforcement, we located a 2-year-old male with a gunshot wound. The emergency personnel provided life-saving measures to the child.
That child, a 2-year-old boy from Georgia, was taken to Arnold Palmer Children's Hospital but did not survive. According to the sheriff's office, 2 families had just arrived and were outside of their vehicle. A 4-year-old boy and a 2-year-old boy, who are likely related, were inside the vehicle together with an unsecured gun.
According to investigation, a 4-year-old family member located an unsecured firearm inside of the vehicle and discharged it, striking the 2-year-old that was also inside the vehicle.
According to Everytown for Gun Safety, there were at least 146 unintentional shootings by children this year, resulting in 49 deaths.
Whoa.
We know that unintentional shootings involving children happen far too often, especially during summer months when children are home during summer breaks and taking family vacations. Vehicles are the second most common location for unintentional shootings by children to occur, particularly for preschool age.
That's why they say it's essential to secure your gun.
That is crazy. The first thing I gotta say is that the parents have to be charged. Whoever is the gun owner needs to be charged. They left their firearm unsecured with children in the vehicle. Now, I don't know where the gun was. I don't know if it was in the glove box and the 4-year-old was able to open the glove box and grab it, or if it was just in the seat somewhere. But they are truly responsible for the 2-year-old's death, and they deserve to be punished for it. This is a tragic thing, and like they said, it could have been prevented. It could have been prevented. Anyone with a gun needs to be responsible for where their gun is and who is around their gun, and if it's truly secure. A 4-year-old gets a gun and kills his 2-year-old cousin? How are you going? Can you even explain that to them when they get older? Oh my God, let's keep going though.
It won't change unless we help shape behavior change and normalize responsible gun ownership.
Covering Osceola County in Kissimmee, Kennedy Mason.
Absolutely. Let's get over into this next video.
A toddler from Louisville, Georgia has been shot and killed by a 4-year-old in Florida. It happened in Kissimmee, just outside of Orlando, while the family was on vacation Sunday. Police say an unsecured gun was found inside the car. Your Brett Buffington reports from our breaking news desk. Brett, what are police saying about this incident?
Zane, let's just start with how heartbreaking this story is. And we just learned in the last 30 minutes this little boy's name, just 2 years old, Braden Tinson. Today would have been his 3rd birthday. This happened on Sunday just before 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Kissimmee, Florida. If you're unfamiliar, that is just south of Orlando. You are looking at video from our station there of that scene on Sunday. The sheriff's office says this family visiting, staying there at an Airbnb, had just arrived, had not even made it inside of that rental yet. And they heard a gunshot there standing outside in the parking lot. A 4-year-old relative got in the car and, according to the sheriff's office, found an unsecured, unholstered handgun. That 2-year-old little boy taken to the hospital. He did not survive his injuries. Tonight, this is under investigation by the sheriff's office there in Kissimmee, Florida, as well as the Florida Department of Family and Children's Services. Meanwhile, we do know that there is a GoFundMe on the internet, part of this, trying to get this little boy's family and his body back here to Louisville. Of course, they're developing in a heartbreaking story here out of Florida. With
I'm tired of seeing these. It is truly tragic. Too many young kids get a hold of guns, and no one is watching them. The parents have to be charged eventually. There's no way they can't be. Let's keep going into this next one where we hear more about the little boy.
Now at 4, we're learning more about a 2-year-old boy deputies say was accidentally shot and killed by a 4-year-old relative.
Deputies have also revealed who that gun belongs to. His family identified the toddler as Braden Tennyson. Investigators say he was shot after the 4-year-old got a hold of the unsecured gun inside a family car. West 2's Kennedy Mason is live in Kissimmee this afternoon. Kennedy, you spoke to that boy's family.
I did, and that little boy's aunt tells me the family was here in Kissimmee visiting for the 2-year-old boy's birthday. He was supposed to turn 3 years old today.
Braden, he was 2 years old. He was a real sweet child, real friendly.
California Tenny's son is remembering her 2-year-old nephew, Braden.
He loved his snacks. He used to always come and I have a little snack being by my bed. He always go in there, he say, Auntie, I want a snack. And so he always like those gummy snacks in that little pack. He like eating those and cookies.
The Osceola County Sheriff's Office says Braden died after being accidentally shot by a 4-year-old family member on Scrapbook Street in Kissimmee on Sunday. Tenny's son said Braden's family was staying at the Cove East at Story Lake rental community.
They got a timeshare down there, and they went down there to visit for his birthday.
The family from Louisville, Georgia, is now mourning him.
We love him, and we're going to miss him.
The sheriff's office says the adults stepped out to check in, leaving Braden and a 4-year-old inside the vehicle. That's when the 4-year-old found Braden's mother's unsecured firearm in the car and fired it. Braden's sister sent us a statement saying, "His little butt was very smart and he was just a very happy baby. I remember we used to come home from school and he used to be waiting on us at the door screaming because he was happy to see us. He always loved eating all my food. He was just learning how to say my name and learning how to go to the bathroom by himself. I hate that this happened to him."
It was his mother's gun? I can't imagine the pain knowing this that's running through the mother's mind. But we got to be honest. No matter that pain, she needs to be charged. Some people might say, "Oh, well, she's already been through enough." No. She has to be charged. Crazy. Let's keep going, y'all.
Tenny's son says prayer is helping them get through this.
That's the only thing we have to lean on is God.
Loved ones plan to hold a balloon release in Georgia later today. Meanwhile, the sheriff says charges could be coming. The state attorney's office said this is an ongoing investigation.
Yeah, it definitely needs to be. There's a lot more questions I have, but let's get over into this AI breakdown, y'all, just to see what else it tells us or if it gives us any more details. So as we know, the 4-year-old boy accidentally shot and killed his 2-year-old cousin, Braden, after finding an unsecured loaded handgun in the vehicle. The tragic accident occurred on Sunday, July 12, 2026, around 4 p.m. at a rental community. So two families from Louisiana to Louisville, Georgia, had just traveled to the Cove East to the rental community for his third birthday. So the adults temporarily left the vehicle to check into the rental property and unload bags. While adults were away, the two young children were left alone inside the car. The 4-year-old discovered an unholstered, unlocked handgun belonging to the victim's mother. They ended up noted that the gun was literally laying out by itself, making it effortless for the child to grab and pull the trigger. He was rushed to the hospital and where he was pronounced dead. Wow. So like they said, no arrests have been made, but the county office confirmed that the criminal charges are highly likely. Authorities are currently meeting with the Florida State Attorney's Office to finalize specific charges against the adults involved. Under Florida statute, it's illegal to have a loaded, unsecured firearm where minors can easily access it. So the potential charges, the gun owner who failed to secure the weapon, resulting in injury or death, typically faces second-degree misdemeanor for unsafe storage. However, prosecutors frequently escalate the charges to culpable negligence or a felony child abuse in cases involving fatalities. The unholstered handgun belonged specifically to the victim's mother. Because it was her weapon left exposed in the car, she faces the highest legal risk. The family traveled there specifically for a Disney World vacation. The family had packed matching Toy Story shirts. Godly. It's a tragic situation, y'all, but at the end of the day, it seems like the mother needs to be charged. But let me know your thoughts and let me know if you disagree with anything I said. It's absolutely crazy, y'all. We're going to go over to one more topic before we end it for today. And we have to go over to Alabama, where we have 2 correctional officers who are being charged with the murder of an inmate. So let's get over into that and see what this whole thing is about. Remember, y'all, if you like this content, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. Let's get into it and see what we can find out.
Thank you. Tonight, bond has been set for 2 former Blount County jailers who were charged with murder. Prosecutors say Joseph Evans and Laletzee Carabal neglected and abused an inmate in January, leading to that inmate's death. CBS 42's Scott Menshaw has more from outside the Blount County Jail.
23-year-old Arthur Morse was in jail here in Blount County for driving under the influence. Prosecutors say that while in jail, he was deprived of insulin. And while in what medical experts call a diabetic coma, he was tased repeatedly. Laletzee Carvajal and Joseph Evans leave court after being granted $75,000 bonds. The 2 are former Blount County Jail employees. Court records say they neglected 23-year-old Arthur Morse while he was in the Blount County Jail. Morse, a diabetic, was in jail for a DUI. Blount County District Attorney Pam Casey says over a 4-day period while in jail, Morse was deprived of medicine.
And I think that
4 days? Yeah, you got to charge him. And then repeatedly tasing him? Yeah. You got to be careful. Some of these people who are watching over inmates might be just as bad as the inmates themselves. But let's keep going.
you can look at the indictments in this case and see that and the court filings that show that he was clearly having a medical event.
In court, a prosecutor with the Blount County DA's office said that Evans and Carvajal punished Morse while he was incapacitated due to not receiving insulin. The prosecutor says Morse was restrained, seen throwing up dark-colored blood, and stunned repeatedly. Morse was transferred to the hospital and died on February 6. Today, Evans and Carvajal were given $75,000 bonds with the conditions that they cannot leave the state of Alabama and cannot have a job where they have authority over other people.
That was one of the things we wanted to ensure, was that they would not have access to potentially anyone who would be in custody control or a patient, any type of medical oversight by either one of them.
Attorneys for Evans and Carvajal did not return our calls today. They're scheduled to appear in court again next month.
These sound like straight monsters. They said that while he was throwing up dark-colored blood, they tased him. Now, I don't know if I heard that wrong, but see, I never understand the judicial system sometimes. When some of these cases, I feel like they deserve no bond at all. No chance to get out. They should just be held in jail till their trial. And this might be one of those cases. Let's get over into the AI breakdown, y'all, see what else it gives us and see if it tells us any more information to wrap all this up. So as we know, we got two former Alabama correctional officers, Joseph and Lizita, I don't even know how to say her name, have been indicted and arrested on charges of felony murder and second-degree assault in connection with the death of 23-year-old Arthur. So Arthur was booked into the jail on a DUI charge on January 25th, 2026. He ended up suffering a severe medical emergency brought on by diabetic ketosis. I think that's how you say it. He died on February 6, 2026 at the hospital. So prosecutors stated that he showed critical signs of medical emergency for days, including vomiting dark blood, urinating on himself, and having a blood sugar reading spike up to 800. Instead of receiving medical intervention, he was allegedly punished by the jailers. Court records state that Evans and Valdez restrained him and repeatedly dry stunned him with tasers while he was completely unable to stand or walk unassisted. The grand jury filed a felony murder indictment on July 9, 2026, and the defendants were taken into custody on July 13, 2026. Joseph Evans has been terminated while Valdez was still listed as employed at the time of the arrest. So on July 15th, the county circuit judge granted both defendants $75,000 bond. Under their release terms, they are strictly prohibited from working in any custodial or medical oversight roles and cannot leave the state of Alabama and must report to pardons and paroles. So defense lawyers emphasize that both individuals are presumed innocent until proven guilty, and their legal team has largely declined to comment on this issue. Now, I did want to see if there was any more details, so we got newly revealed details from the court filings in a recent bond hearing. Know that the timeline surrounding Arthur's incarceration as medical neglect. So Morris was not serving a major prison sentence. He was originally arrested, like we know, in DUI in May 2025. He was booked into jail just 5 days before his medical emergency to serve a short 15-day sentence of contempt of court after failing to comply with his court referral officer. Prosecutors explicitly stated in court that Morris, who had diabetes, was completely deprived of insulin for several days leading up to his collapse. Witness testimony and jail records revealed that his blood sugar fluctuated in 300 to the 500 range inside of jail. By the time he was finally transferred to the hospital, his blood sugar had spiked to near fatal 800 range, causing him to slip into diabetic coma. Prosecutors revealed that instead of being treated as a patient, he was actively disciplined for the symptoms of his failing health. Because he was vomiting dark fluid and had lost control of his bladder, he was forced into the restraining chair where he was repeatedly tased. The July 15th, 2026 bond hearing was held. As we know, they was given that $75,000 bond. The case was not handled locally. The Alabama Law Enforcement Agency State Bureau of Investigation took over the independent probe on January 25th, 2026. So court updates indicate that 19-year-old Valdez legal team has filed a request for her to be tried under the youthful offender statute, which could potentially limit her sentence and seal her record. It's a crazy situation, y'all. Let me know your thoughts and let me know if you disagree with anything I said. But that is it for the show now, y'all. We talked about a lot of crazy things. Remember, if you like this content, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. And one more shout out to the super chat. We got Young Run Phenon 84. Salute to you for covering these topics. All right, y'all. That's it for now. Y'all already know I got to play that outro. I'll see y'all tomorrow for our last show of the week. Peace.